The city lights reflected off the river, turning the water into a ribbon of gold and silver. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain from earlier in the evening. Emma walked across the bridge slowly, her hands tucked into the pockets of her coat. She liked this time of night when the streets were quiet and the city seemed to belong only to her. But tonight, something felt different, almost electric. She paused at the middle of the bridge and leaned on the railing, staring at the rippling water below. The hum of traffic was distant here, almost peaceful, but her mind was restless. She didn't know why she had felt drawn to this bridge tonight, but it seemed to call her, pulling her steps forward until she reached its center. A sudden sound, a soft, deliberate footstep, made her turn her head. A man was walking toward her from the other side, his dark coat blending with the night. He moved with a confidence that made Emma's heart beat faster. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and she felt a strange flutter, a mix of curiosity and something more primal she couldn't name. He stopped a few feet away, leaning lightly against the railing. "Beautiful night, isn't it?" His voice was calm, smooth, and it carried an unexpected warmth that made her pause. "Yes," she replied, her voice quieter than she intended. She wanted to step back, but her feet stayed rooted to the ground. There was something magnetic about him, something in the way he carried himself, like he belonged to the night itself. The man smiled faintly, a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes entirely but made them more interesting. "Not many people come here this late," he said. "I suppose that makes it our little secret." Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. "Maybe I like it that way. Quiet. Private." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, suddenly aware of how close he was, even if he hadn't moved any nearer. They stood in silence for a few moments, just listening to the water below. Every ripple, every distant honk of a horn, seemed louder than usual. Emma's heartbeat quickened. There was an unspoken energy between them, something that drew her closer, even though they were strangers. "I'm Alex," he said finally, breaking the quiet. "And you are?" "Emma," she replied, feeling a strange warmth in her chest at the sound of her name spoken aloud by him. Alex nodded as if he had expected her name all along. "Emma, it suits you. Gentle, yet strong." His gaze lingered on her face, and Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. She looked down at her hands, trying to hide it, but the thrill of attention made her heart race. The wind picked up slightly, tugging at Emma's coat. Alex instinctively moved a little closer, close enough that their shoulders nearly brushed. Neither moved away. The closeness was dangerous and thrilling all at once. "You always come here alone?" he asked, his tone casual but loaded with curiosity. "Sometimes," she said, glancing at him. "It's a place to think, to escape, to feel something different from the city below." She paused, then added softly, "And you?" He looked down at the river, his expression unreadable for a moment. "Maybe I was hoping to find someone who feels the same way." When his gaze returned to her, Emma felt something shift inside her. There was an intensity in his eyes that both excited and unnerved her. A sudden laugh escaped her, soft and nervous. "You make it sound like some kind of adventure." "Maybe it is," he said, his smile returning, teasing and confident. "Maybe tonight is the start of something neither of us expected." Emma felt her pulse quicken. The city, the bridge, even the cold wind seemed to fade into the background. It was just the two of them, standing there, drawn to each other in a way she couldn't explain. And in that instant, Emma realized that the bridge was no longer just a quiet place in the night. It had become something else, a place where desire could awaken, where chance encounters could spark something unexpected. She didn't know what would happen next, but she wanted to find out. The night seemed to hold its breath as Emma and Alex lingered on the bridge. The hum of the city below felt distant, almost unreal, as if the world had paused for them alone. Emma's heart still raced from their encounter, yet a strange calm settled over her, a quiet curiosity she couldn't resist. Alex shifted slightly, resting his hands on the railing. "You come here often?" he asked, his tone casual but carrying an undercurrent of genuine interest. "Not always," Emma admitted, her eyes tracing the lines of the bridge, the reflections of the lights on the water. "Sometimes I just need to get away from everything, to think." She glanced at him, curious how he seemed to understand without judgment. "And you?" He leaned a little closer, careful but deliberate. "I like quiet places," he said. "Places where I can watch the city without being part of it. And tonight, well, tonight seems like it was waiting for something." His gaze lingered on her, and she felt a tingle in her stomach that made her shift slightly closer. A gentle breeze brushed past them, rustling Emma's hair. Alex reached out instinctively, tucking it behind her ear with the softest of touches. Her pulse jumped, and she caught her breath. It was a small, simple gesture, yet it carried a weight of intimacy she hadn't expected. "You're careful," Emma said softly, meeting his gaze. "Like you think about every move." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I am," he said. "Or maybe I just like to make moments count." The words hung in the air, filled with suggestion, and Emma felt herself leaning ever so slightly toward him, drawn by the warmth in his voice. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. The bridge, the water below, the faint city lights, it all seemed to fade until nothing existed but the two of them. Emma's mind raced with thoughts she couldn't fully name. There was a pull between them, magnetic and undeniable, something unspoken yet understood. "You feel different," she admitted, her voice almost a whisper. Like meeting you here wasn't random at all." Alex's eyes softened, and he tilted his head, considering her words. "I was hoping you'd say that," he said quietly. "I don't usually feel this connection." He hesitated, then added with a teasing edge, "But maybe the bridge has its own magic tonight." Emma laughed softly, a sound that mingled with the gentle breeze. "Magic," she echoed. "I like that idea. It feels like we're the only ones here." "Maybe we are," Alex said, leaning a little closer. His shoulder brushed hers, a simple touch, yet it sent a spark of warmth up her arm. Emma felt her heart quicken. There was something daring in the closeness, something that invited temptation without words. The conversation flowed easily after that, effortless and light. They shared small stories of their lives, the kind of details people usually kept private until trust grew. Emma found herself laughing more than she had in days, drawn to his humor, his calm presence, and the way he made her feel seen. "I didn't expect tonight to be like this," she admitted, her eyes dropping to the railing for a moment. "I didn't expect to meet someone like you." Alex's gaze softened again, warm and intent. "And yet here we are," he said, voice low, almost a murmur. "I think sometimes the best things happen when we least expect them." The wind picked up, teasing the edges of their coats. Emma shivered slightly, and Alex moved instinctively, wrapping an arm around her shoulders in a protective, gentle gesture. She leaned into him for a moment, savoring the warmth and the closeness. For the first time that night, Emma allowed herself to feel the full weight of the attraction between them. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was something more, something deeper, simmering under the surface. And Alex seemed to feel it too, the quiet tension, the pull that made them linger on the bridge long after the city lights had blurred into distant streaks. They stayed there for what felt like hours, talking, laughing softly, stealing glances, and brushing shoulders. The bridge had become their own private world, a place suspended between reality and something more, something thrilling, intimate, and filled with desire. As Emma finally stepped back slightly, she felt a pang of longing. She didn't want the night to end, didn't want this connection to vanish like a fleeting shadow. And as Alex's hand brushed hers, deliberate and lingering, she realized that tonight was just the beginning. The bridge had drawn them together, and neither of them wanted to leave. The first drops of rain fell lightly, scattered and soft, hitting Emma's coat and hair. She looked up at the dark sky, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Looks like the night isn't done surprising us," she said, laughing softly. Alex glanced up, his dark hair dampened slightly by the rain. "I don't mind," he said. "It makes the night more alive." He stepped closer, and Emma could feel the warmth radiating from him despite the chill in the air. Their shoulders brushed again, and the contact sent a jolt through her, sudden and thrilling. The rain began to pick up, falling in steady, rhythmic drops that drummed against the bridge's surface. Emma shivered, though not from the cold. "I should probably go," she said, her voice hesitant. But she didn't move. Something held her in place, something about Alex's presence, his gaze, the quiet electricity between them. "Don't go yet," he said softly. His hand hovered near hers for a heartbeat, then brushed against her arm. The touch was light, almost accidental, yet it made her heart race and her breath catch. "Stay a little longer. I promise it'll be worth it." Emma's eyes met his, and she realized she didn't want to leave. There was a pull she couldn't resist, a magnetic force drawing her closer. She nodded, a small, almost imperceptible gesture, and he smiled, a warm, slow smile that made her stomach flutter. The rain became heavier, pattering against their coats, their hair, the bridge around them. Emma laughed, a little breathless, and Alex reached out instinctively, offering her his coat. "Here," he said, draping it over her shoulders. "It'll keep you dry, and warm." She leaned slightly into the coat, feeling the weight of him behind her, the heat of his body close but not overbearing. It was comforting, yet exciting at the same time. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. They continued walking slowly along the bridge, the wet surface slick beneath their feet. Every brush of their arms, every accidental touch, sent shivers through her. Emma couldn't remember the last time she had felt so alive, so aware of every sensation. "Do you ever feel like some moments are meant to happen?" Alex asked, his voice low, carrying a quiet intensity. His eyes met hers, dark and compelling, and she felt a thrill of desire coil inside her. "All the time," she admitted, her voice soft. "But I don't often experience them like this. With someone I barely know, and yet feel like I've known forever." He slowed his pace, walking beside her instead of in front. "I feel it too," he said, glancing at her. "It's like the bridge, the rain, the night, it all brought us here for a reason." Emma's heart beat faster, the words echoing in her mind. She felt the closeness of him, the heat of his hand brushing against hers, the way his coat enveloped them both in a shared space. She wanted to lean closer, to feel the warmth more intimately, yet she hesitated, savoring the tension that made every second electric. The rain poured harder, soaking through their coats despite the shelter. Alex stopped, turning to face her. "Emma," he said, his voice low and deliberate, "look at me." She lifted her eyes to his, and the world seemed to blur around them. The city, the bridge, the rain, it all vanished. All that existed was the space between them, the shared breath, the pulse of something urgent and unspoken. Without thinking, Emma stepped closer, closing the small distance. Their shoulders touched fully now, chest nearly brushing chest, and a shiver ran through her. Alex's eyes softened, and he reached up to brush a wet strand of hair from her face. His fingers lingered, tracing the curve of her cheek. Emma's breath caught. She wanted this, wanted him close, wanted the night to stretch forever. "Alex," she murmured, her voice trembling with the mix of excitement and longing. He leaned closer, his lips almost brushing hers. "I want this," he whispered, a spark of desire in his tone. The air between them crackled with tension, the storm outside mirroring the storm building inside them. The rain soaked them completely now, but neither of them cared. In that moment, the bridge was theirs, a private world of desire, anticipation, and the thrilling promise of what could happen next. Emma closed her eyes, leaning just a fraction closer, feeling the warmth of him, the pull of something neither of them wanted to resist. And in that shared breath, in the silent promise of the storm, she knew the night was only beginning. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle, leaving the bridge glistening under the faint glow of the streetlights. Emma and Alex stood close, their coats wet and clinging, the warmth between them growing with each passing moment. The city around them seemed to fade, leaving only the sound of dripping water and the quiet hum of the river below. Alex tilted his head, studying her face. "You're different from anyone I've met," he said softly. His eyes, dark and intense, held a curiosity that made Emma's pulse quicken. "There's a spark about you, something real, something that draws me in." Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks, a combination of shyness and exhilaration. "I don't usually share things like this," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't usually let people get this close." He stepped a little closer, their bodies nearly touching, and Emma felt the undeniable pull between them. "You can trust me," he said gently. "I don't want to rush anything. I just want to know you. Really know you." Emma hesitated, then nodded slowly. There was something in his voice, in his eyes, that made her feel safe. For the first time in a long while, she felt she could be herself, without masks or pretenses. She began, then paused, gathering courage. "I've had moments where I felt invisible, like no one really saw me. And then, I don't know, something changes, and I feel noticed for the first time." Her words were barely above a whisper, carried away slightly by the soft breeze. Alex reached out, brushing a wet strand of hair from her face again, lingering longer this time. "I see you, Emma," he said, voice low and sincere. "I see you, and I like what I see. Not just your beauty, but everything. Your strength, your laughter, your quiet moments." Emma's heart swelled at his words. She had never felt such a direct, pure interest from someone before. Her breath caught as she felt the warmth of him so close, the gentle brush of his hand against her cheek. She wanted to lean closer, to feel more of him, but a delicious hesitation held her back, making every second feel electric. The bridge seemed suspended in time, the world around them fading into shadows and reflections. Emma's mind raced with thoughts she couldn't fully name, feelings she had tried to ignore until now. Desire, yes, but also trust, curiosity, and a strange, comforting sense of connection. "Alex," she murmured, stepping just a fraction closer, her shoulder brushing his. I don't usually do this, either. But I feel like I can with you." He smiled softly, the kind of smile that made her chest tighten. "I'm glad," he said. "Because I feel the same. I don't want this night to end. I want to know more about you, Emma. I want to feel this, whatever this is, with you." The wind shifted, carrying a faint chill, and Alex instinctively wrapped his arm around her shoulders, pulling her gently closer. Emma leaned into him, savoring the warmth, the closeness, the quiet intimacy of the moment. Every brush of his coat against hers, every subtle movement, sent shivers through her body. "You're warm," she whispered, almost shyly, feeling the steady beat of his heart against her chest. "And safe." "Good," he murmured, his lips almost brushing her hair. "Because I want you to feel safe. And I want you to feel wanted. Not just now, but always." Emma closed her eyes, savoring the words, the closeness, the way the world seemed to have shrunk until it was just them on the bridge. The rain, the river, the city lights, they were all background to the growing connection, the quiet, unspoken desire that pulsed between them. She opened her eyes and met his gaze, dark and intense, filled with something she could barely name. "I want this," she admitted softly. "I want to feel this, with you." Alex's hand rested on her cheek, thumb brushing lightly against her skin. "Then we will," he whispered, voice low and full of promise. "We'll see where this night takes us." For a long moment, they simply stood there, rain-slicked and close, sharing a silence that was anything but empty. Every glance, every subtle movement, spoke volumes. Desire and connection intertwined, building slowly, like the river flowing endlessly beneath the bridge. And in that suspended moment, Emma realized that she had found something rare, a spark, a pull, a longing that felt both thrilling and safe, intense and gentle, all at once. The night was theirs, and the bridge had become a place where hearts could open, and desires could awaken. The drizzle had almost stopped, leaving the bridge slick and shining under the glow of the city lights. Emma shivered, though not from the cold. Alex's presence beside her sent warmth through her body, a mix of comfort and something more, something exciting, urgent, and thrilling. "You know," Alex said softly, his voice low and deliberate, "I've been thinking about this night since the moment I saw you." "About you?" His gaze met hers, intense and magnetic, and Emma felt her breath hitch. I can't stop thinking about it either," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "About us. About this, right here, right now." Her eyes dropped to his lips for a moment, then back up, caught in the pull of something she couldn't resist. He stepped closer, the small distance between them closing, their shoulders brushing, the warmth of him pressing against her. "I want to be close to you," he whispered, his hand brushing hers lightly, teasing, testing. The touch sent an electric shiver through her, igniting something deep inside her chest. Emma's heart raced, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she leaned just slightly closer, feeling the thrill of proximity, the pulse of desire that had been building since they first met on this bridge. "I want that too," she said softly, the words barely audible. The world around them seemed to fade, the river below, the city streets, even the faint hum of traffic. All that existed was the space between them, the gentle brush of fingers, the warmth of breath mingling in the cool night air. Alex's hand moved deliberately, resting lightly on her waist, steadying her as much as grounding himself. Emma felt a rush of longing and excitement. The tension between them, subtle but electric for so long, now seemed to pulse with a life of its own. "You feel," he began, voice low and filled with wonder, "like I've known you forever, yet I barely know you." His thumb brushed against her side, lingering in a way that made her stomach tighten. Emma's lips parted slightly, unsure whether to speak or simply let the moment carry them. "It's unreal," she whispered. "And yet, I can't imagine being anywhere else right now." A soft laugh escaped Alex, a sound full of warmth and quiet delight. "Then stay," he said simply, leaning a fraction closer. The space between their faces was just enough to feel each other's breath, enough to taste the anticipation hanging in the air. Emma's pulse raced. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, savoring the tension, the closeness, the pull that had been building since they met. When she opened them, Alex's gaze held her, steady and intent, and she realized she wanted this, wanted him, wanted this night, wanted the desire between them to finally be acted upon. Without thinking, she moved closer, the small distance disappearing, and he met her halfway. Their lips brushed in a tentative, electrifying touch, a first kiss that was soft, slow, and full of the longing they had both kept hidden. Emma's hands rested on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, while Alex's arms wrapped gently around her, holding her close. The kiss deepened, lingering, a dance of passion and restraint. The world beyond the bridge seemed to vanish completely. The river's gentle flow, the city lights, even the rain-soaked air, all became a backdrop to the connection they were finally allowing themselves to explore. When they finally pulled back slightly, Emma's forehead rested against his, their breaths mingling, eyes half closed in shared exhilaration. "I've wanted that, since the moment we met," she admitted softly. "So have I," Alex murmured, his hands resting lightly on her arms, as if grounding both of them in the reality of the moment. "I don't want this night to end. I don't want to let go." Emma smiled, feeling the thrill of desire and connection intertwining. "Then we won't," she whispered. "Not yet. Not until we've felt every second of it." They stood together, rain-soaked, hearts racing, the bridge around them a quiet witness to their desire. Every brush of fingers, every shared glance, every soft, lingering kiss deepened the connection, building a tension that neither wanted to resolve just yet. The night had transformed the bridge from a simple walkway into a place of longing, intimacy, and undeniable attraction. And in that shared warmth, Emma and Alex discovered that desire wasn't just about a single kiss, it was about the thrill, the anticipation, and the unspoken promise of more to come. The world could wait. Tonight belonged entirely to them. The first hint of dawn touched the sky with pale streaks of pink and gold, and the city below the bridge began to stir. Emma and Alex lingered in the quiet after their kiss, their hands still entwined, hearts still racing. For a moment, it felt like nothing could break the spell between them. But reality was never far away. A distant horn honked, pulling Emma from the warmth of the moment. She glanced at the street below, feeling a sudden pang of responsibility, the awareness that the world outside the bridge was waiting. I should go," she murmured reluctantly, her voice tight with disappointment. Alex's hand tightened around hers, the pull gentle but firm. "I don't want you to leave," he said softly. "Not yet. We have all night, well, until the morning comes." His gaze held hers, earnest and imploring, and Emma's heart twisted at the thought of leaving this connection behind. "I know," she whispered, her fingers brushing his. "But life, it keeps pulling me back." I can't ignore it forever. He nodded slowly, understanding yet clearly unwilling to let go. Then come back, he said quietly. Come back to me. This bridge, this night, it can wait for us. Emma smiled faintly, torn between the pull of reality and the magnetic draw of Alex. I want to, she admitted, leaning her head briefly against his shoulder. I want to stay longer, but I have responsibilities. Things I can't ignore. Alex let out a soft sigh, his eyes lingering on her face as if memorizing every detail. Then promise me something, he said. Promise me that this isn't the end. That we'll meet again. That this, what we have, it won't vanish. Emma felt her throat tighten. I promise, she whispered. I don't want it to end either. I feel something with you I haven't felt in a long time. The words hung between them, fragile yet powerful. The bridge, which had been their private world, now seemed too small to hold all the emotions surging between them. Emma stepped back slightly, still holding his hand, feeling the tension of impending separation. I have to go now, she said softly, glancing down at the street below. I'll be back soon, I promise. Alex nodded, his grip lingering for a moment longer before releasing her hand. I'll be waiting, he said, his voice low, filled with quiet longing. No matter how long it takes, I'll be here. Emma's chest ached as she turned toward the stairs leading off the bridge. Each step felt heavy, as if leaving Alex behind carried weight beyond the physical. She stole one last glance over her shoulder. His silhouette against the fading night, his coat damp from rain, and his steady, expectant gaze it burned into her memory. She hesitated for just a heartbeat, torn between leaving and giving in to the desire still pulsing inside her. The pull of the bridge, of the night, of Alex himself, was almost irresistible. But responsibility called, and she knew she couldn't ignore it. As she descended, she felt the ache of absence settle in her chest, the longing for something she had just begun to taste. The city was waking up, bustling with noise and routine, but she carried a spark of the bridge with her, a memory of warmth, closeness, and the thrill of connection that had ignited in the rain. Meanwhile, Alex remained on the bridge, leaning against the railing, watching her disappear into the city below. The early light reflected in his eyes, a mix of desire, hope, and the quiet ache of separation. He knew this was only temporary, that the connection they had shared was too strong to fade so easily. He closed his eyes briefly, taking a deep breath and committing the memory of her warmth, her laughter, the electricity of her touch, to his mind. The bridge had been a beginning, and he refused to let it be the end. Minutes passed like hours, yet he didn't move. Every distant car horn, every faint pedestrian sound reminded him that the world was returning, but his thoughts remained with her. Desire and longing simmered just beneath the surface, waiting for the next moment they could be together. Emma, walking through the awakening streets, felt the same. Every step away from the bridge carried a pang of longing, yet also a fierce hope. This wasn't over. She would return, because the pull between them was undeniable, magnetic, and real. The bridge had become more than a meeting place, it was a symbol of connection, desire, and the promise of something neither of them could ignore. And though they were separated for now, the memory of that night, that kiss, and that closeness would hold them together until they met again. The city lights flickered as the night gave way fully to morning, and Emma hurried back across the familiar path to the bridge. The streets were quieter now, the early commuters still distant, leaving the city feeling like it had paused just for her. Her heart raced not from the steps, but from anticipation. She hadn't been able to shake the memory of Alex's warmth, his gaze, or the kiss that had left her yearning. As she reached the middle of the bridge, her breath caught. There he was, Alex, leaning against the railing exactly where they had parted. His coat was damp from the lingering drizzle, hair still slightly wet, and his eyes, dark and steady, met hers immediately. In that instant, the ache of separation melted away. "You came back," he said softly, a slow smile spreading across his face. Relief, desire, and something tender all mixed in his tone. "I promised," Emma replied, her voice trembling slightly, a mix of excitement and lingering longing. She stepped closer, feeling the magnetic pull between them as if the bridge itself were drawing them together. "I couldn't stay away." Alex's smile deepened, and he took her hands in his. The contact was electric, sending shivers up her arms and making her pulse race. "Neither could I," he admitted. "Every moment without you felt empty." Emma felt the same. The city around them, the early morning sounds, the faint hum of traffic faded into the background. It was as if the bridge existed solely for them, a private world suspended above the river, where time slowed and desire could breathe freely. Without a word, Alex stepped closer, reducing the space between them to nothing. Their foreheads touched first, a gentle contact filled with anticipation. Emma's hands rested lightly on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. He leaned in, his breath mingling with hers, and she closed her eyes, savoring the closeness. Their kiss began softly, tentative, like a question being asked and answered in the same instant. Then it deepened, slow and deliberate, carrying the months or maybe years of longing that had built in mere hours. Every brush of lips, every gentle movement, felt like a conversation, a promise, an acknowledgement of the desire they had both fought to contain. Emma's fingers tangled in his hair, drawing him closer, and Alex responded by holding her tighter, grounding her in the moment. The cold air and dampness of their coats didn't matter, all that mattered was this connection, desire, and the quiet intensity that had grown between them from the first glance to this very instant. When they finally pulled back slightly, their foreheads still resting together, Alex whispered, "I don't want this to end. I don't want to let go." "You won't," Emma replied softly, her voice steady despite the rush of emotion. "We'll have more nights like this. More moments. I want all of it." He smiled, brushing a thumb across her cheek. "Then we'll have it. I'll make sure of it. Because tonight proved something that we can't ignore." His gaze held hers, fierce yet tender, and Emma felt the last of her hesitation melt away. The bridge seemed to respond to their closeness, the river below reflecting the morning light and their shared warmth. They stood in silence for a few long moments, savoring the intimacy, the connection, and the thrilling reality that what had started as a chance encounter had become something undeniable, profound, and entirely theirs. Alex rested his forehead against hers again, voice low and full of promise. "This bridge, this night, it brought us together. And now, nothing can take it away." Emma smiled, heart swelling with emotion. "Nothing," she agreed. And in that instant, all the longing, desire, and tension of the previous nights found fulfillment not just in passion, but in the quiet, unwavering connection that had grown between them. The city woke around them, but the bridge remained their world, suspended above the river, a place of desire, trust, and new beginnings. Emma and Alex stood together, drenched in the morning light, knowing that whatever came next, they had found something rare, a spark that would not fade. And as the first full rays of sun touched the water below, they shared one more slow, lingering kiss, sealing the promise of desire, connection, and the beginning of everything they had both been waiting for.